When you express yourself that way, when you live from the positively focused perspective, then you begin to see, like my client saw, that everything is happening on your behalf because the universe loves you and you love you. And the experience of your life experience is nothing more than the furthest forward manifestation of that love. Welcome to Worthiness Wednesdays. I'm Perry Gruber, the Enlightenment Guy. For over a decade, I've helped people master their mindsets so they can live lives they love and get the results without the burnout or the hustle. And today, I want to talk about divine synchronicity in the context of worthiness. This experience that I'm going to share happened several weeks ago with a client. All of my stories in Worthiness Wednesdays are typically from client experiences. Sometimes I talk about my own experiences, but today I want to talk about this client's experience. In the session, we were talking about an experience he was having at work, where the client was frustrated with a coworker who wasn't, from the client's perspective, pulling his share of the workload. And as a result of that, my client was having to pick up more and more of the workload. But what was interesting was the internal customers that the client's organization serves were constantly asking for my client to help them rather than the other guy, because my client has a reputation, a really good reputation in his organization for producing really high quality work. And what I pointed out to the client was that as this coworker of his was not performing to the same level as my client, the coworker was helping amplify my client's expertise as perceived by the internal customers. And so what my client was originally complaining about, this coworker not pulling his share of the load, was actually a benefit to the client, because the fact that the coworker was not performing at the level that he could, the contrast between the coworker's performance and my client's performance was causing the internal customers to demand more service from my client than the coworker. So that dynamic of the coworker not performing at a certain level was actually serving my client. When my client saw this, he relaxed into his awareness that everything is always working out for him, which is always the case. Everything is always working out for all of us. But it takes a certain perspective in order to see that, especially when what ordinary humans would call negative experience, what I call contrast. When contrast happens, it can be hard to see that everything is working out for you, when indeed everything is always working out for you. So after my client and I talked about this, he wanted to talk about a dream. And I'm not going to go into the details of the dream because it's not that important. But what came out of the talk about the dream was a conversation about masculine and feminine energy. Now, if you watched my Raw blog from last Friday, I spoke a lot about masculine and feminine energy, and I gave a kind of teaser to this video on Friday because I knew I was going to talk about this wonderful thing that happened. So after my client and I talked about this dream he had, we then got on the subject of masculine and feminine energy. What humans refer to when using the terms masculine and feminine energy is actually creative potential, the energy of creation, and the action energy that is necessary to mobilize or to manifest that which has been created by the creation energy. Human beings have gotten confused by describing these two polarities as masculine and feminine. They have nothing to do with gender. It's all about energy and the purpose of the energy. In all that is, there are two types of energy. There's creative energy, which is still, soft, receptive, open, easy, and potential. And then there's action energy, which is forward moving, putting into action, progressive. Seth likes to call it aggressive. The best word for it is just action. And so these two energies exist in all physical things. In human beings, they occur in certain proportions. Some human beings are more creative, some human beings are more action. But in every human being, there is a blend of creation and action. The trouble that human beings have come into in society is relying too much on action energy, doing. If you're in the New Age conversations, you often hear the term or the phrase doing disease. Human beings have fooled themselves into thinking that it is doing that makes things happen, but it isn't doing that makes things happen. It's the creative spark, it's creative energy that causes things to get into motion. And when there's enough potential, when there's enough creative energy, then action isn't the thing that follows and then makes it happen. Action is what happens as a result of the creation that causes you to line up with the unfolding of the creation in the time and space coordinates where that creation is taking place. Another word for creation in this case could be said manifestation. So this client, he's a hugely creative guy. He's a musician. He's fun-loving. He wants to be a comedian as well. And so I've been helping him realize his creative aspirations, particularly in his music. And in this session, we talked about him possibly bringing in comedy as part of his musical performance. And in the context of both music and comedy, we were talking about this balance, not balance like even on both sides, but the combination of creation and action. And I was suggesting to him that the more he resides in the energy of creation, he doesn't have to worry about taking action, because when the creation gets ripe, when the creation becomes full, then the next natural step is inspired action. And as I described this to him, he totally got it. And the more he got it, the more he relaxed into the conversation, and the more he could see how this creative energy, this feminine energy, is the basis of all that is. It is the foundation of all that is. The masculine energy, the action energy, is acting in service of the creation energy. And I'm going to put an image in this video that perfectly describes this. It's a knockoff of a Gustav Klimt painting where it depicts a knight on the ground kneeling in the lap of a woman. And this picture, I'm not sure that the artist intended to communicate this, but this picture perfectly symbolizes the balance and purpose of creative and action energy. The action energy, represented by the knight, acts in service and devotion to the creative energy, represented by the woman. Now you can see this type of relationship between knights and women have been around for a long time, and not even before knights and damsels. And so this is an archetypal illustration of a eternal experience. The balance, the combination, it's not a balance, it's not 50-50. The combination of masculine and feminine energies, or creation and action. And so after talking at length, this is so good, after talking at length about the polarity of creation and action energies, we got off the call, and not long after, the client sent me this glorious text voice message that amplified everything we had talked about up to that moment. It was such a wonderful confirmation from the universe demonstrating to the client the accuracy of everything we talked about. And I could tell, and you're going to be able to tell too, in his voice, that the experiences he had following our session were so confirming to him. He came more and more into his trust, his knowing, and his clarity of his worthiness. So now I'm going to play the message he sent for you.
Hey, Perry. I just wanted to tell you about something cool that happened. After the session, I came out and it smelled really strong like incense. And so I went up to April and was just like, hey, it's pretty intense with incense, And she said, yeah, I smudged the house because my mom texted me and she told me about Karen, April's aunt, how she's in the hospital and, blah, blah, blah. And so she's, trying to have a better feeling about this, and her aunt saying like she's not going to make it out of the hospital. And she's feeling like, man, I know I don't align with this, but is like everybody in my family going to die now? And I said, if they want to, like it's not uncommon for people to die after a loved one dies because they just feel so depressed or so grief stricken or whatever. Like that's the alignment that they're into. Like, and so it happens. And so we were talking about that. And April went out into the living room after we were done talking. We were in the kitchen, and then I stayed in the kitchen. And April pressed play on the TV, and she was watching Abraham when I came out. But I paused it when I came out of the session to talk to her. And when she pressed play, it immediately said, creativity is the fun part, and that's what we're meant and here to do. The doing comes after that. Like creativity or doing doesn't spark interest of fun. Like people want to do things because they feel creative or whatever. And so I was just like, hell yeah, we were just talking about this. Boom, it's awesome how this fucking shit happens. And so I sat down and I was talking with April about our conversation more, you and I, about the creativity and all that kind of stuff. And I look on the screen and the title of the video is Action versus Alignment. What matters more? And I was just like, hell yeah, even the freaking video's name is like what Perry and I were just talking about. And she goes, oh, this isn't the video that was playing. That was the last video that they were talking about the creativity and everything. And I'm just like, so it just randomly happened upon this video that's titled Action versus Alignment. Like, I feel like the alignment is like, oh, I'm aligning with my fun and creativity and blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to share that with you because it was really badass. It immediately happened and I love it. So yeah, peace.
Here's the thing, you guys. We are all pure positive energy, eternal beings moving through a physical experience designed to amplify our spiritual clarity, amplify our knowing that we are loved by the universe, and the aspects of us that are most in the forefront of our awareness when we are clear of what we are is the creation energy that is us, the fullness of our creation energy, supported by a devoted action energy. And the two, when they play together in the beautiful dance that they play, they create our life experience. Now, this is always happening, but you can't see it the way I'm describing it. You can't see it like that Gustav Klimt painting unless you have the clarity that comes from being aligned with your broader perspective, which means expressing yourself as the pure, positive, eternal energy that you are. When you express yourself that way, when you live from the positively focused perspective, then you begin to see, like my client saw, that everything is happening on your behalf because the universe loves you and you love you. And the experience of your life experience is nothing more than the furthest forward manifestation of that love. I love knowing this. I love seeing my clients get to know this, because this is the essence of all that is. This is what makes living in physical reality a joy. This is one of the shortest Worthiness Wednesdays episodes ever. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that you have gotten something out of it. Life is so good, and it's even better when lived positively focused. Okay, see you in the comments, and see you in the next video.